What's up, Chromies? Great to be back with you. Today, we're going to be diving into the updates for October 2024. Not the busiest month ever, but there's certainly a handful of things to talk about. AI, as always, some updates to your favorite Google products and some resources and lessons you can use in your classroom for Halloween and the season. Hope you will consider subscribing to the show over on Spotify, Apple Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, good to have you. Small but mighty community of my Chromie homies. So great to have you. I enjoy recording these episodes each month. You can also follow me over on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you prefer. Facebook. Happy to connect. Love to hear if you have any suggestions, tips, resources, and new tools you think I should check out. Love to hear from you as well. Want to thank Vizor for supporting this show. Vizor has been a wonderful partner supporting this podcast, helping me pay the bills for a couple years now. Vizor is a Chromebook management tool for districts that use Chromebooks and honestly any type of technology that you need to track and manage. So Vizor is great because it gives you a central place to manage all of your technology. It connects with the Google Admin Console, your student information system, and just lets you manage your devices, track repairs, keep track of costs and assignments and things like that. It's a great resource. If you've got Chromebooks, definitely check it out. Head over to vizor.cloud/CBC, and you can save 20% off your first year of using Vizor for Chromebooks. Well, with that, let's dive into the updates for October 2024. Sit back, grab your favorite pumpkin spiced beverage, apple cider, donut, whatever you're doing for the fall season, and let's dive into these updates. First off, we have a Gemini update, as there seem to be many. Google has officially rolled out an update they made a while ago. Gemini is now available for students down to the age of 13. So up until this point, Gemini has been really for adults only 18 plus. But now with Google Workspace for Education, inside of that, you have the option of rolling out Gemini to your younger users. Now, obviously, every district has their own opinions on what is appropriate. You can make your own decision, but Google's terms of service will not prevent you from giving access to teenagers. I haven't really introduced my own kids to AI, not too much. We played with it a little bit. We do use Gemini specifically to help with homework assignments, especially physics. It's great to be able to snap a photo of a problem in the textbook, and Gemini will give us step-by-step instructions on how to solve it. So that's been very helpful for me as the dad who hasn't taken physics in a long time. Helping my teenagers work through the problems. Well, let's go down to update number 2. Google Forms has a new question type. Now, I don't even know the last time that I saw a new question being added to Google Forms. This is awesome. Now, there's a whole bunch of additional types of questions I would love for Google to add, but here we go. This is a start. Users can respond to Google Forms and enable feedback through a rating question type. This new question type enables you to customize rating questions by setting a rating scale level and including rating icons such as stars or hearts to offer a more intuitive way to gather opinions from an audience. So this will show up when you create a form. You click the drop down for question type, short answer, free response, and so on. Now there is star rating. So it defaults to 5. You can change the star icon to, it can be stars, hearts, or like a thumbs up symbol. So an interesting development. I'm just frankly excited to see some updates to Google Forms. There's been a lot of updates to Google Docs, a lot of AI related updates, but haven't seen, something like this in quite a while. Still would love to see some more advanced features like drag and drop inside of Google Forms. That would be awesome. But we'll see. Maybe this is an indication of more things yet to come. Number 3, this month, Google has officially launched tabs for Google Docs. Now, we talked about this last month. I figured out kind of a backdoor way that you could get access to tabs in Docs, but now every document has this feature. So when you open up a new document, you'll go to the Insert menu, and that's where you'll see the option to be able to add tabs. The first time when you get this feature, you'll probably get a little pop-up notification that says new feature, but Insert, and then down here towards the bottom, you'll see Document tab. The tabs are just a way to divide your content into sections. So kind of similar to how Google Sheets works when you have different tabs down at the bottom. Now you can organize your content that way. And last month, I shared some suggestions and ideas for using this in the classroom, and I've got a YouTube video all about it that you can check out as well. Let's stick with Google Docs for just a minute. In addition to tabs, Google has announced that you can now add what they call a cover image to Google Documents. This is similar to what you see in Google Forms and Google Classroom. So it's that big banner up at the top that kind of spans the entire width of the screen in Classroom and Forms. Now Docs can have a similar feature. Google Sites as well. So this is found, I think you go to Insert, and then there's Header. No, not there. It's called a banner. So a new option for Google Docs, or excuse me, called a cover image. We find it. So you can search in the help cover image. I think it's in the Insert menu. This account may not have it yet. It's still rolling out right now. And it's kind of nice if you've ever tried to put an image that spans the width of your document. It's kind of hard to get it to stretch, but now it's much easier. You can pick from some of Google's preset tabs or cover images, or you can upload your own. The preset ones that you'll see are very similar to what you see in Google Classroom and Google Sites or in Forms, or like I said, you can upload your own. So again, just kind of a way to visually distinguish your documents, so you know that you're in the right place, and tell them apart. We also have a pretty big update to Google Classroom related to Gemini. So Google announced very vaguely quite a while ago that they were going to integrate Gemini into Google Classroom. They didn't really explain how or where, what, or any of that. We're now starting to get more insight into what this actually means. In order to experience this feature, you're going to need a lot of licenses. You're going to need to have EDU Plus and the Gemini license. So it's double licensed. What you will see, and I don't even have this yet, I've been trying to get it and update my account. On the left side of Google Classroom, where you see home, calendar, resources, archived classes, there's a new tab that will show up that says Gemini Education. Now, there's a couple interesting things here because I thought they were just going to put a Gemini box in Classroom, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but also isn't terribly innovative. It's just putting the box in a different spot. But this looks a little bit different. According to some screenshots available, It actually gives you quick starts for outlining a lesson plan, generating a quiz, releveling text, crafting a compelling hook. So it's actually has some preset teacher specific prompts in there that you can begin with. So this kind of feels a little bit like gems, which we've talked about in the past, where you can customize the purpose of Gemini. Interesting. Game changing? Don't know, but an interesting update to Classroom. Now, I don't know how relevant this will be to everyone, but there's probably a few people in the same situation that I'm in. So as soon as Google announced Gemini for Google Workspace, I purchased a license for myself. Now, that license was not an education license. It was just kind of a generic license, more business, because Google hadn't announced Gemini for Education. Gemini for Education is now available, and Google has indicated in this same blog post that these screenshots are in. It says that there is a process that you can use to convert your business license into an education license, which I think is what I need in order for these features to show up in Google Classroom. So I've reached out to the company that I use to purchase my licenses from, to be like, hey, how do I get converted to Gemini for Education? Because I'd love to experiment with this and figure out if it's worth the money, if it's any good. So haven't heard yet. I mean, this just was announced last week, and my support ticket is in the queue. So I'll report back whatever I hear once I get a chance to try this out. Let's stick with the AI topic. This is an interesting one. This was sent to me by a podcast listener. Thank you so much. This is an ABC News article. Title is Parents Sue School in Massachusetts After Son Punished for Using AI on Paper. And the general gist here is that this student reportedly used AI to help him with a paper. The student received a 0 for the assignment and was also barred from joining the National Honor Society at the school and whatnot. So the parents are suing because it's caused academic harm to his grade and future college aspirations. Now, this is a big challenge. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with the approach these parents are taking, but I'm scrolling down in the article, and it says, quote, the school handbook, defines plagiarism as unauthorized use or close imitation of language and thoughts from another author, including artificial intelligence and the representation of such in one's own work. However, the challenge is that the handbook did not specify correct or incorrect uses of artificial intelligence. And so the argument that is being made in this case is the student did not use AI to write the paper. He used it to improve and perform some, vocabulary, editing type corrections. So maybe, for example, the use of Grammarly and Grammarly's AI components. I bring this to your attention because it simply highlights the challenge of having a clear policy for what is and is not appropriate when it comes to use of AI. And the challenge that teachers are facing in terms of identifying student work as enhanced by AI. What does that even mean? Can a student use Grammarly to check it? Can I use AI to outline? Can I take something I've written, put it into AI, and take some of the suggestions and improvements? What is or is not appropriate? It is not a cut and dry, clear line. Plagiarism back in the early 2000s was you copied something from the internet, you didn't rephrase it. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a much cleaner line than what we have right now. So I'll be very interested in seeing the results of this lawsuit. I mean, I guess the article doesn't specifically mention what steps the parents took, but seems like we maybe could have talked with the school, talked with the teacher, rather than submit a lawsuit. But that's where we're at, unfortunately, in the 21st century. Sue everybody for everything. So take a look at that article and perhaps keep your eye on that developing story. I'll be interested in see where that heads. Well, let's wrap up our time together with some holiday themed resources. It is Halloween in a couple of weeks. Things are changing in my house. Halloween used to be a huge deal, but now I've got teenagers who aren't quite as involved as they were in the past, but I still have several younger kids who'll be participating. I have to go help my youngest son figure out a Kylo Ren costume, and I think I'm sending my older couple of kids to Salvation Army with $10 and saying, figure out a costume from what you can find there. They were excited about that idea. So I've got a few Halloween resources for you. This is a kind of a hectic time. There's way too much candy, parties, and extracurricular activities going on. So hopefully those will help keep people engaged and occupied during this time of the year. First off, I have a classic activity. I've shared this many times before. This is my pumpkin carving with Google Slides activity. It's very simple. I've got a template all ready to go. Your students, if they're younger students, can use some of the provided shapes. You have triangles and circles and different shapes that you can drag onto your pumpkin. If you have older students, they can use the polyline tool to kind of free draw or free carve their pumpkin. And you can add all kinds of academic connections here, talking about shapes, descriptions, descriptive language, things like that. A short writing assignment. Introduce your pumpkin, write about your pumpkin in Spanish or French or German or whatever you're learning. So feel free to make a copy of this free template, modify it, and incorporate it into your classroom this season. Next up, we have a resource from, skip down to this one, Google Arts and Culture. So this is one they always have interesting things around all the holidays. Right now they have a special exhibit called the Museum of Frights. And this is a collection of historical artifacts that are spooky and mysterious in nature. There are virtual tours from haunted castles and museums with scary surprises. Several haunted objects in museums around the world. Touring spooky sites, looking at famous works of art that have kind of a spooky, mysterious nature. There's recipes for spooky treats and crossword puzzles, all kinds of stuff. There's a ton of stuff. It's a whole like special exhibit related to Halloween. So this is available on Google Arts and Culture, probably for the moment anyways, right on the home screen, I'm guessing. The home screen of Arts and Culture is fun, but it can be a little frustrating because it changes like every day. So you go there, you find something, and the next day, like, I can't find it anymore. So I'll put a direct link in the blog post to this museum exhibit. You can check it out. That one would be good for middle and high school students. The next resources I have for you is a Halloween choice board. This was developed many years ago by a good friend of mine, Tanya Nugent, from Northville Schools in Michigan. I've taken what she created and added some things and modified some things and updated it a little bit. But essentially, you have a choice board here with 4, 8, 10 different squares, ranging from pure fun to fun with some educational components. So there's Halloween magnetic poetry, code your own Halloween game, I've got my pumpkin carving activity in there, Halloween jokes, crossword puzzles, paper ghost chains, and a bunch more. So this is a fun thing to do if you've got class parties on Halloween and you need a time filler for 15 minutes here or there as you're running around doing stuff. This would be a great thing to assign to your students to explore while they're waiting for the next activity. The last resource I have for you is a new lesson that I just recently created, and I had a lot of fun with this one. I was trying to think of, I haven't done a new Halloween lesson in a while, so I was trying to think, what's new? How can we incorporate some new technology, new tools, but still make something that's academically challenging and important and useful? So I came up with this idea of using AI image generators with figurative language. And this was a lot of fun. I am a former English major. I studied English and science in college, so I've got a weird left-right brain thing going. So the first thing I did was look up some spooky examples from classic literature, and it was not difficult. The first one I thought of was, of course, Edgar Allan Poe. Pretty much everything he writes is a bit spooky. So The Fall of the House of Usher has a description of a house that he visits, The Fall of the House of Usher. Then we have Dracula by Bram Stoker. He describes the castle where all the activities took place. And then finally, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. He describes a farmhouse that he visits on horseback in there. So I looked at those examples and I thought to myself, what would happen if I copied and pasted those descriptions into one of the AI image generators? And there's a bunch of them. The 4 that I selected were Canva, Adobe Express, which now has Adobe Firefly inside of it, Google Gemini, and Ideogram. And if you're watching this podcast over on YouTube, you'll be able to see the results. The images are pretty good. And I really did not do much extra. I just took the descriptions, pasted them into those tools, and just what do you get? I don't know. The one that I think was probably the best is Gemini actually did a good job. I thought the Gemini one was pretty good. And the Canva one was better than I anticipated as well. So the idea here, now the reason that these images can be so dynamic and deep and have so much detail in them is because of the language used by these famous authors, Edgar Allan Poe, Washington Irving, etc. And so the challenge that you can give to your students is, can they write their own short story where the main character is a haunted house, castle, mansion, factory, church, pick a structure. These don't need to be long stories, a paragraph or two, but they need to use very descriptive, spooky language, because once they're done with their short story, we are going to try to create a visual representation of what they described in words. Now, one thing that you can try, and I had a lot of help in writing this blog post using AI, which was kind of fun. So here's a prompt that you might consider entering into ChatGPT or Google Gemini. I am teaching a lesson on figurative language by asking students to write a short story about a haunted house. Can you provide a list of descriptive words they might use? Please divide this list into adjectives, nouns, and verbs. And so you can just take that prompt, drop it into ChatGPT or Gemini, and see what you get. I did this the other day, and I was pretty impressed by the list I came up with. And you can print this out, hand it to your students, be like, here's some words to get you started. Write the most descriptive paragraph you can think of. And the more descriptive you are, the better the AI image you'll be able to generate. I thought that was a fun way to introduce students to the concept of figurative language with the anticipation of being able to incorporate some of the AI tools that you've probably heard about and that you've been discussing. Using AI image generators is a pretty effective way to introduce students to the use of AI while avoiding some of the potential issues of, just doing the entire assignment using AI. Again, I shared several AI generators that you can incorporate. Probably the easiest one to use would be Canva. If your school's already using Canva, you have account set up, then that's going to be the simplest. Same thing if you have Adobe accounts for your students, then Adobe Express would be similar. And then again, Gemini, this would be a potential reason to enable Gemini for your 13 and over students. So that's kind of the hierarchy I would go through. The last one is Ideogram. I really like Ideogram, but it is a little bit PG-13, so I'm a little apprehensive about just turning students loose. With that tool, I'd be more comfortable with Canva or Adobe Express, preferably. I hope that you'll be able to incorporate one of those Halloween-themed lessons into your class the next couple of weeks. Fall's in a fun season. Weather's just starting to change, and the colors are probably in peak form right at the moment. Let me know what fun things you're doing in your class, and certainly if you are able to use any of those lessons, I would love to hear about it. Any suggestions for improvements or modifications that you made, that'd be cool to hear as well. Thanks for listening to the Chromebook Classroom podcast. Again, encourage you to subscribe to the show if you have not done so over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever finer podcasts are made available. My thanks to Vizor for Chromebooks for sponsoring this episode. If you have Chromebooks in your school and you're in charge of helping manage them, definitely check out Vizor by visiting vizor.cloud/CBC. Happy Halloween. I'll see you back here next month with more tips and tricks you can use in your classroom.